Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Sarra show. It's so nice to be back, and it's so nice to be back with my new friend Marta, as we say in Morocco. We say Marte in Norway.
Yeah, Marte, almost. It's difficult.
We're trying. So, I want to first start by how we met. I was laying down in Tromsø, a city north in Norway, and I was in my hotel room scrolling on IG, trying and finding influencers or people who can give recommendations on what to visit or what to do in Norway while I was there. And then I come across a reel of a Norwegian, but in Morocco, who's doing reels about things she's discovered and explored in Morocco. So I thought it was interesting. And I sent Marta an email, not an email, a message on Instagram. And I was like, it's really interesting that I'm in Norway as a Moroccan and you're in Morocco as a Norwegian. And we kind of do the same things. You're into coaching and self-development and personal development and discovery. And you've also left your country to go somewhere else. And I just thought it was super interesting. So she graciously replied, and we've been talking since. And we decided to have this conversation as two women who are very much into self-discovery and being authentic about that part and finding our voices, our authentic selves, and really that place deep within where we can meet ourselves, and that place where it's just raw and deep and real and authentic and beautiful and peaceful. That's what we strive for. So we got on the phone and we had a beautiful conversation, and she was kind enough to drive from Marrakesh to Casablanca today. She just got here, so thank you for making the drive. Thank you for being here, and thank you for taking the time.
Thank you for inviting me. I'm happy that my husband could drive. I do drive in Marrakesh, but everyone is like, don't drive in Casablanca. But it was good. It was fine. Thank you for having me. I'm excited about this. And I love that fact that you were in Norway and I was here. And this happens quite often, or there's not that many Moroccans in Norway, but I'm getting this, oh my God, we switched lives, like at the same time and at the same drive to go somewhere new. So I got a lot of messages from Moroccan women in Norway too, so it's quite fun.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I gotta say, there are not a lot of Norwegians in Morocco either.
There's not. I know two.
Who actually moved there?
Yeah. Well, right now, I'm not sure actually.
They moved back?
I'm not sure. I think they left. There might be. So if anybody sees this, let me know.
Marta's looking for fellow Norwegians in Morocco. It's like, call for help.
I have one friend now and she's Danish. So it counts.
It does.
It's close enough.
What made you make that move? It's quite a big move. In Norway and Morocco are quite the opposite in a lot of things, right? Norway is very structured, a lot of rules, it's a beautiful place. I loved being there. I learned a lot. I love the pragmatic side of it. I love how everything is organized and things are easy to get to, and everyone's super kind and nice and giving and loving and helpful. I really, really enjoyed my time there, both in Tromsø and Oslo.
Like I said to you on the phone when we spoke, I'm glad that you have this perception, because so many people, Norwegians are cold, they're not nice, because we are perceived as a more closed-off people. And compared to Moroccans, we are very much. And you said Morocco and Norway is quite the opposite. It's like totally the opposite, in my opinion. And when I moved here, I was like, yeah, it's pretty different. And then after some months, I was like, everything is different. There's nothing similar at all in anything. So it's been a big move.
So what made you move to Morocco?
First of all, my husband. I would not be in Morocco without my husband. He's Moroccan, born and raised in Morocco, but we met in Norway. So we've been living together in Norway for many years. And to take the decision to move here, if you asked me 2-3 years ago, I would be like, no, I would never move to, like, what am I going to do there?
And you had been here before, right?
I had
Like you
been here
visited.
before.
Yeah.
I've been visiting the family-in-law and I liked it. But I don't, like, I have some people asked me, oh, did you fall in love with Morocco the first time you were there and now you moved there and it's your dream? I was like, no, not really.
Those are movies. This is my life.
Yeah, there was no dream at all. I've never dreamt about moving to Morocco. Never dreamt about moving anywhere. I was comfortable in Norway.
I didn't realize Norwegians love their country, and right, like they don't move away, or they always come back. I heard that many times when I was there.
Yeah, when you ask now, like, Norwegians love their country, I'm like, yeah, yes, but we do. We I think there is a saying. It's typically Norwegian to be best. This is a Norwegian saying.
What does it mean?
I don't know, but I think that often we think that we are good. We have been on the top of this safest country to live in, the best country to live in because of the systems. Not the happiest.
I think it came 7th this year or last year.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't buy that. Who asks what? No, I think that many people are happy, but I think, like, we have a big issue with mental health problems. Like, people don't know what they want. People don't know who they are. They're living in the box and in the system because we have a very good system.
Do they even know they're not happy?
No.
Right.
I don't think so.
That's why they probably score high, because...
Maybe. Yeah. If you don't know, then you're happy in the not knowing. But we have a real issue now about, like, I think we're one of the... we I think we score high on also, like, sick leave. Like, we're one of the highest percentages of people not working because they're sick. And it's usually because of mental health issues.
That's
people are tired.
Because you have a pretty good work-life balance in a sense where you get a lot of vacation.
Yeah.
You right?
Yeah.
I heard, like, Norwegians stop working at 3 p.m.
Yeah, it depends. But 4 maybe.
That's when it gets dark.
It's good. But yeah. Oh my God, in the winter, it's like you go to work, you leave work, it's dark, you don't know the sun is out. But I think most people know we do like to stay in Norway because we know that we have a good system. And if you're going to leave to another country, you're going to sacrifice a lot of healthcare systems, school. Like, we have good systems. And I think we also have, like, this scarcity mindset in Norway. I found out something that I've been, like, sometimes I compare Norway and Morocco, and obviously it's like Norway and Morocco are as different as it can be.
Really? You sure?
I'm sure. Everything is different. In the beginning, I was like, okay, it's different. And then after some months, I was like, okay, everything is different. I can't find any similarities. I've tried to find some, but opposite. For now, I can't find any similarities.
It's quite opposite.
It's just people are people. And then other than that, very opposite. But I feel like in the scarcity mindset, in Norway, we have the system and the consequence mindset. If you don't do this, you're not going to get this, which is, like, normal. If you don't go to school, you're not going to get a job, which is partly true, but also partly not true, because it depends what you can make of yourself. Education is good, but, you know, it's very, like, the path is made. And I think we have this in Norway, very big scarcity of, oh, what are you going to do? What if you don't do this? What if this? What if this? What if that? We have many what ifs in the worst case scenario. And I think that comes from a very good system. But then if you get out of the system, it's very scary, because the system got your back mostly. It has some holes, but it got your back. And if you don't have that, it's pretty scary to be outside of it. But it's not that bad as we think it is. And I think in Morocco, you have the scarcity maybe more with the religion. Here, there is not the scarcity with like, if you don't do this, like, there is more the religion part. I don't know if you can recognize what I mean, but like, if you're bad, you might not go to heaven. If you don't act nicely, you can be punished. And it's like, we don't have religion in that sense in Norway. But I've started to see a lot of similarities when some Moroccans speak about the things they're scared of. And Norwegians, it's like the faith side and then the very logical system side.
It's still a system, right? Because like religion can be a system, like,
Oh, yes.
like of rules. And in Norway, you created your own system. So overall, it's the same thing. If you follow these rules, you're going to be fine. Call it hell or heaven, just whatever, or fine and not fine.
Yeah.
And if you don't follow the rules, then you're not going to be fine. So it's at the end of the day, it's fear and scarcity in both ways, right? In both systems. So it's very
There's the similarity.
right?
Yeah.
The similarity of fear.
It's everywhere, though. All
Right.
people are controlled with fear. It's easy.
That's very interesting. I find that when you follow, so like in Norway, you have all this practicality and rational thinking and systems. And like you said, the systems got your back. As long as you follow it, you're going to be fine. You go to school, you get a job, you get healthcare, you get education, you get married, you have kids, you get a house, you get a car. Everything will be available to you. And it's a pretty rich country, right? You got the oil, you got the fish, you got the gas, and it's a smaller population.
Yeah.
And then there is the whole still feeling of something is missing, right?
Yeah. Yeah, because I think when you focus on all this, there is this, what's the next step on this path that is really laid out for me by someone else, but you're not aware of it. So I had the same. I went to school, I found my husband, we bought an apartment, invested in, like, this is very important to in Norway, invest in real estate, doing this, doing that, get the car, like do the things, get the job. And I thought I was like following the path and then I was feeling good, but then I realized that I wasn't. And I think that there's so many people that can relate to this, but they don't know what the issue is. Because I guess we're conditioned and we have imprinted in our mind, we're so lucky, we live in the best country in the world, that's what we think. And then I think nobody can say what's the best country in the world. But like we have a privileged life, the country has your back in some way or another. But then it's always this race of the next step. I think people in general, but maybe very much in these countries, we're not good at living in the moment. We're not appreciative. I remember the first time I was starting some appreciation training on myself. I was like, okay, what do I appreciate? I was like, I don't know, my family, I guess. I didn't feel so, but I felt like that's something you should appreciate, your family, and I do now. But I didn't even know what the word appreciate really means, because I guess you just have all these things all the time, and they're very practical, and you're chasing something. And then when you have it, it's like, okay, what's next? Better degree, better job, better house, bigger house, next car, a child, blah, 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 blah. And it's not from within. It's just chasing the stuff that other people can see.
It's like, it sounds robotic.
Yeah, it is. And you're not really aware because you don't learn about yourself. So it's like for me, we talked a little bit about this before, that I didn't know anything about myself. I thought I was doing good. I thought I was right most of the time. And I wasn't at all. And I was like, oh, I'm not right all the time. What? Because I started working on myself. And then I realized, like, oh, I don't know anything. I don't know anything about myself. I don't know anything about my patterns, what I want, where I'm going. Like, what is this? And I think this feeling is very familiar to anyone who looks into it. Like, it's okay until it's not okay anymore. And then you're forced to face it or run away from it, which I think most people do.
Run away from it.
Yeah.
You're only running away from yourself when you do that.
Yeah.
Right.
And you run into the negative circle of chasing something outside of yourself all the time. And then, like, you know, the complaining stuff, like, I don't feel good, and this is not good, and this is not good, and I'm not happy. I don't know, I'm not happy. Like, yeah, but maybe you should look inside and within, and you're going to find out. But we're so scared to do so, and we haven't learned to do it until I think now in this time of the world where there's a wave of self-healing and the information is easier to get. So I think now it's going to be interesting in some like next generation or 2 generations to see the effects of people actually taking care of themselves.
Yeah, because you mentioned earlier you started looking within around the age of 30. It was same for me. When you open that backpack, like you called it earlier, it's a lot of shit to look at, right? It's a lot of childhood stuff. It's a lot of meanings and stories that you had created. It's a lot of patterns, and it's a lot of layers, right? And you start removing layers, and then you start to feel better, and then you look at something else, and you're like, what? Right?
Yeah.
And then you remove that, and you start feeling better, and you start feeling more. And it's not happiness for me, it's more of a peaceful feeling, right? Because for me, it felt like coming back home. So I'm more at peace. The more I remove layers, the more I'm coming back home. I'm no longer escaping or disassociating or escaping myself or the feelings, or because I feel like that's the automatic thing for most people.
Yeah.
The minute you don't feel good or something doesn't feel good, you escape your body, right? You get distracted, you disassociate, you go somewhere else. And for me, the whole work's become, when something doesn't feel good, staying here,
Yeah.
right? Like staying inside, this doesn't feel right, and I'm going to feel it. And it's really hard in the beginning.
Yeah.
But for me, that's what staying present is, right? Versus leaving every time. And every time you leave, the more you leave, the more it just becomes your coping mechanism. It's interesting you mentioned, I wonder how this next generation is going to be, because I feel like we have 2 extremes. We have the generation that is talking a lot about self-healing, and some are doing the work, but there's also so much more distraction, right? With TikTok and Facebook and Instagram and so much social media, so much screen time, so much gaming, which also take you away from your body.
Yeah.
I feel like there are 2 extremes of the same thing. So yeah, it would be very interesting to see what we're gonna end up with.
Can go all ways, but I think there's always the 2 extremes. I feel like this what do you call this pendulum?
Pendulum.
It always has to go all the way here until it can go back to this side. So I feel like it went here. Like I feel like we're pretty far out now with all the distractions and all the technology and the loneliness, because people are so lonely because they're just on their phone and they're watching everyone else's life as a distraction to run away from their own life. But with the generation that is starting to heal, when they have kids and they can show up as parents that are not like out of their mind or that are more in touch with their bodies, that generation, like the kids of the people healing today, there I believe there can be some difference, because then you have parents that have actually healed themselves from the generational trauma, that have kids that they can bring up without all the baggage.
Yeah.
But of course, that's just a small percentage. So, I don't know. I guess the world is going to just do as it's going to do anyways.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting to watch.
Yeah.
We're talking about disassociation and distractions, and it's escapism. For so long, I tried to escape looking within, right? Like you were saying earlier, you feel okay for like 2-3 months, and then all of a sudden you hit a wall, and then you're down again, and you don't know how to deal with it. And then I feel like everyone goes through that at some point. And then you either try to like drink it away or smoke it away or fuck it away, or somehow you try to just not face it. I wish we built systems and schools that would teach us just how to sit.
Oh, yeah.
Right? And look within and be with what you're feeling. I wish they would just give 1 hour a week in schools for something like that, but it still feels at this point in our civilization that we're not there yet.
No, not at all. We still want people like kids to sit down and pay attention and listen, and we just need to get through the plan of the school year. And it's like, I used to work in a kindergarten for 5 years.
As a teacher?
Yeah. And I used to be with the smallest kids, so they're like 1-2 years old, and sometimes with like 3-4 year olds. But like I saw just with these 5 years, and that was like when I was 24 to 29 or something. And within these 5 years, all the paperwork, all the extra pressure of education for kids that are 3, 4, 5 years old, it was just growing every year. And the amount of work we had to do in the office obviously takes away from being with children and making them feel safe and doing the things that is healthy for kids. But we had to run and we had to stress. And I feel like this is how the society is. And we have this in Norway. I've also worked in like an institution for kids who cannot stay at home. So they stay here because they're abused at home. So they cannot live home. So we have an institution, and it's the same problem there. They need so much support to kind of build themselves up again. But then from the government side, we as worker get so much paperwork because we have to prove to the big guys that we're doing our job. That it's like, okay, you want me to prove that I'm doing my job by writing 1,000 reports? But obviously when I have to do that, I cannot do my job at all by being there for people who need me. And I feel like this in school too. The teachers have so many things to do that they can't do what they're really supposed to do. And I feel like this is the society of, I don't know, proving stuff or putting it in the system again, that it's like, but what about the in-person talking, feeling, just like we're doing now? We couldn't do this if we were at work because we had to write 1,000 reports, and then we just lose any kind of in-between humans action. Yeah, I don't even know what we're talking about, but
I coach at startups too, so it reminds me of that. You know, and this is true for any country or civilization as well, right? We start with an idea, right, and we bring it to life. And at first we're creative, we're dancing with it, right? We're just trying to figure out how to bring this thing to life. And then as it starts to grow, we start to put systems and structures in it because we have to, you know, to keep the machine going. And then the more systems and structure we put in it, the less connection and idea and flow we have.
yeah.
And then it just ends up, it's a really well-oiled machine that's super structured, and it does what it's supposed to do, but it's completely lost its soul.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I wonder where is that, you know, as we're talking, where is that line, or how do we start keeping both? You know, like how do we merge Norway and Morocco?
Yeah, that's my question too. And my husband, we were like, how do we merge our two countries? Because Norway has what Morocco is missing, and Morocco has what Norway is missing. So this is exactly it. If we can merge the two, that would be very interesting, though.
Well, you guys are doing it. You and your
We're
husband,
doing it.
right?
We're doing it. We are doing it. Actually,
Yeah.
it's a good merge. It's not for everyone, but it's a good merge. Yeah, but I think to do that, you need to have the ability to be two things at once. I think this is also a disease in the society today, because I feel like people are very much like, we are talking more and more about being outside of the box, but I feel like people are so interested to be in a box at the same time. So it's like, this is what I mean, and this is what I think, and this is what I do, and this is how I work. It's like, yeah, but you can mean this and do this. You don't have to. Yeah, you can. Your mind can think two thoughts at once. You can have a system that has a structure, and inside of the structure, you can have open rooms for playfulness and space. Like something I also feel like in like this self-work spiritual world, or whatever we're going to call it, I feel like people often like they start doing the work and finding themselves, and then they end up on the extreme side, which is like, okay, you start doing some work, you figure out some things, and then fast forward, you have the earrings, you have the swooshy clothes, you're in a mountain somewhere, dancing around the bonfire and throwing your period blood in the air and screaming at the moon. You know what I mean?
Definitely.
And then you're just putting yourself into another box because you think you always have to be in a box. Yeah. And I feel like now I'm like, okay, I've been doing the work. I'm getting more like spiritual, I guess. But at the same time, my spiritual side comes from the brain knowledge and how our brain works. But I can also mix inside of the energy of the universe, which is physics, I guess. But also so kind of faith of something, I don't know. And this can coexist. It doesn't have to be, I'm a neuroscientist and that's the only thing I believe. And if you say energy, it has to be like something, you know, I like it can exist at the same time. I can heal myself and do breathing and meditation and some weird stuff. I can also fix my nails and look like I do. I don't have to.
And have a job and
have a job.
Make money.
And, yeah, and money. I heard this podcast the other day, to be a spiritual millionaire, and how these two words are like, oh, that's not allowed. You can't be spiritual and a millionaire, because if you're spiritual, you're supposed to care about other things than money. And if you're, you know, and then it's like, no, but you can have two different things in you. You can act on different sides and still be complete, and even more complete, because you don't have to put yourself inside of that box.
It's almost as if one drives the other. The way I see it, for me, is the inner work, or my being, or who I am, you know, deeply as a woman and as a spiritual being, drives my material, right? So like, I hear who I want to be and what I want to do, and I go and I create it, and I make money, and I have nice things, and I enjoy life, you know, all the material things in life.
Yeah.
You know, they go hand in hand. It's not about listening within and then, okay, what actions are you going to do with what you heard, right?
Yeah.
Because we get ideas all the time as we listen within. I meditate, I have all these ideas and these insights and stuff like that. And then you got to take action on them and materialize them and make money. I don't see a separation in them.
Yeah.
Because that wouldn't make any sense in my world, you know. Then that's the beauty of being human, right? Being in the physical and dancing with it and loving and, you know, the touch, the smell, the feelings, you know, all those beautiful things. That's why we're here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's about being everything and being the whole you and everything that comes with it, good and bad. Like also accepting the bad sides of you. Like when I started doing these things and I started to realize that I was not right all the time, I had to start to accept some sides of me that I was like, ugh, this is uncomfortable to accept that I've been doing this, or I've been thinking this, and that I still do sometimes some things that I'm a little bit ashamed of. But as soon as I started to accept that it's okay, these are parts of me too. Not perfect. I'm doing the work on myself. I'm a coach, but I still do some stuff that is like, come on, this is not necessary. But it happens because I'm human. And then the more accept I was able to give myself, the more love I'm able to give myself, and the more I'm able to like expand authentically, I guess.
Yeah.
Because I feel like, again, if you're doing the self-work thing, I don't know what I want to call it, because I hate when it's like healing journey. I don't like it because it's a, I don't know what I'm going to call it, but you know what I mean?
Yeah, it resonates with the Kumbaya movement.
Yeah, and I think it puts you in this box, and then
I know
again.
what you mean.
But because people are chasing the happiness and chasing like being the good. Like again, we're chasing something over there, not now. We're chasing something outside of us. We're chasing something all the time. And I think this is like we chase jobs and money and all that stuff, but we also chase to be that good version of ourselves. Like, yeah, I'm doing the self-work so I can do that thing over there and so I can be happy and so I can be confident and all that stuff. And it's like, yes, but what about now? Because if you cannot be in the moment again, like we said before, you're not going to have that stuff over there because it's outside of you when you put it in front of you or whatever outside of you. So I think like the mistake maybe that people do in this self-healing journey is to chase again. And then it's like, no, that's not the point. You're not chasing to be happy in 2 weeks and you did the work and then you think it's...
To get something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You need, like, the more you're able to be in the moment, accept everything, that's where, like, the magic happens. I think I grew more from accepting my, like, let's call it bad sides, the not so cool sides to realize. I learned much more and grew a lot more and got more love of myself by embracing these sides and letting it out and letting it be than to grow like the good things. Does that make sense?
It's that sense of allowing, right? Whatever is showing up within me, I allow it to exist and it has the right to exist.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to get rid of it or do work to get rid of it or to reject it or abandon it or escape it. It's you're allowed to exist as well.
Yeah.
And it's okay. And that's a deep sense of peace and staying home, staying present and this is what's showing up. Okay, you're allowed to be here. It's okay. It's cool.
Yeah.
And then you're not chasing anything because it's all allowed, right? You're not gonna go act on your feeling angry. You're not gonna go act on it. That's one thing. But you're allowed to feel it, and it's okay for it to exist as well. For me, that's what being home is. All the time. Like, I'm here with you no matter what. Right? I'm not gonna try and go escape it or try and look for someone to save me. Like you mentioned earlier, somebody was right about that.
Somebody. I'm gonna say it on live radio. I was gonna say this is not a live radio. I'm gonna broadcast it. My husband was right.
What was your husband right about?
Not that many things. No, he was right about, like, in many years of our marriage, he told me a lot of things that I've looked back at now, and I was like, oh, okay, now I understand. Because at the time, for example, he told me, nobody is coming to save you. You have to, like, take care of yourself. And for me, it was so triggering because at the time, I didn't even understand that I was triggered. I was just like, no, you're wrong and I'm right, because people are here to save each other. We're here to help each other. I was a social care worker, so it was like, I felt like he was attacking me and my stuff, and I was also like this savior. I had the savior complex, someone to save everyone, and then I guess also that someone is going to save me if I need to. And then when he said, like, no one is going to save you, I was like, ugh, that's some Moroccan, like, independence man thing. I was like, no, you don't know what you're talking about. And then now I'm like, oh, I understand now. You were right. And it's not just this, it's many things that he have said through the years that I have completely, like, just shut off because I was not in the place to understand what he meant. And it was triggering me probably, and the person I was that I didn't even know that I was at the time. And when I look back at it now, I was like, okay, you were right at that time. And I thought I was right, but I was not at all. And also it's like, it's okay to admit that you were right and I was wrong. I couldn't before. Like, I would never say it out loud before, but now I can. And it's good because it just shows we're learning, and we just know what we know in the moment, right?
Yeah.
So at that moment, I didn't know who I was, what was triggering me. I didn't know. Like looking back, I feel like I didn't know anything, but still I thought I knew so much about life, and I didn't know anything, and that was like still in my late 20s. So looking back in it, I was like, geez, what? But now I'm like, okay, but I knew what I knew, and I acted of what I knew at the time. Now I know something else, so now I act from what I know now, and that's it. And that also helps with that not feeling stupid or not feeling bad or like, I should have known. No, but you didn't know. So
That's the shame, right? Like trying to shame yourself for not
Yeah.
knowing better or doing better. Or shame is tough. It's allowed to exist as well,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
And just recognizing that, okay, shame is here. Okay, you're allowed to be here. It's okay. I tried to fight shame for so long and I could never win. And Brené Brown helped me a lot understand, that connection between vulnerability and shame. But when I was really able to sit with shame and allow it to be and exist, that completely changed my life.
yeah,
You're talking about, I didn't even know that I could sit with these feelings or I could look at things differently, right? Just the possibility of looking at something differently. Like, I am right and that's it. This is it. I am right. And this is why we see a lot of issues in the world, right? Between countries, right? Because I'm right and you're wrong. And to a certain extent, I'm even going to kill you if you think I'm wrong,
Yeah.
I wish we had more tools, just more tools to allow us to feel. So that was a good point that you made. I didn't even know what was wrong with me or.
Yeah, because I think we are so focused on the achieving part, achieving things, and again, the stuff outside of us. And at some point, it's like our brain is wired to not feel those feelings. We are wired to take the easy way out. We're wired to protect ourselves from feeling uncomfortable. And even to know that would be good to know. Like if we were taught in school, like, you know what, your brain actually wants you to be very comfortable. So when you think that you want to lay on the couch, it's a lie. 9 out of 10 times, actually, you need a walk or some fresh air or like some movement because we getting pretty lazy.
Yeah.
And if you just understand, and this is why I still have a lot to learn, but I'm like a little brain geek because every time I learn something new about the brain, I'm like, wow, that makes so much sense. Like that explains everything. Just like, okay, you have experienced something one time in your life when you were a child. It was uncomfortable. When you're a child, uncomfortable means dangerous. So your brain thinks you're in danger because it cannot separate from being chased by a lion and being yelled at by someone. It's fear. Fear is fear.
Yeah.
And then it's going to do whatever it can to not make you feel that fear again, which is holding you back and limiting beliefs and taking you away from sitting with these feelings and find any distraction ever. Like if we all just knew this pattern, it would just make sense, and we would just maybe learn the tools in between there, like you said before, in school. Just like, and it's not, we don't need that much to be able to handle it. And when you said this, sit with your feelings, like when I went to my coach for my, like the first time I really went all in for like the start of 2023. No, that's 1.5 years ago, right?
Yeah.
I get so lost when I think about age and the year it is. I'm like, I don't know if it's the Moroccan.
But it is true that for me, at least, it's been like the more when I do work on myself or I uncover something or I feel like I aged 20 years.
Yeah.
And it's been a month,
Yeah,
right? And
exactly.
I'm just like, who was I like last week? I thought this way and I was doing these things, right?
Yeah.
It's so, all of a sudden I'm like a whole different person, a whole different identity.
That's it.
So that time does that. Like it feels like it's going fast and slow at the same time.
Yeah.
When you kind of like doing this this upgrading. Yeah.
Yeah, it makes sense because it feels a long time ago.
Yeah.
Then I'm like, oh, it was like last year. It was like my brother used to say when he was young, and I think this is a kid's thing, like, you know how stupid I was when I was like 3? I was like, bro, you're 3.5. Like, it's not that long ago. It feels like that. It's the same. It's the same thing. But yeah, it was about sitting with your feelings. And I remember my coach said this. She was like, okay, but the answer is you have to sit with your feelings. And I was like, huh? What? Okay. What I do? Sit with them? What do you mean? And then, like, it makes no sense because nobody told you, and you don't know how. And it, like, even when you say it, your brain is not comprehending what it means. So I said, I don't know. You have to tell me how I do that.
Because you think about the feelings. There's one thing to think about a feeling, and there's nothing to be with the feeling.
Yeah.
So they're very different.
Yeah. And the thinking about it, like, I've done that most of my life, and like intellectualize, yeah, I feel like this because that happened. And this is what I did for a long time until very recently. I have been sitting with my feelings sometimes, but I think I still thought about them more than felt them. And then really feeling it, like I remember the first time after she told me, like, how do you sit with your feelings? She was like, sit in your couch, and if you can, even like provoke any feelings. If you feel a little bit uncomfortable or a little bit anxiety, invite that anxiety to come out. Like, be friends with it. Tell it like, hello, you're welcome. Don't try to push it away. Again, acceptance. Meet with acceptance, because the more you try to force something, I think we all know this, force usually doesn't lead to anything but shit. Force to me is a negative word too.
It's resistance.
Yeah, it's resistance. You try to push something and then it's like
punches you back.
Yeah, very hard. The more you push, it's like, okay, you push a little more and then
you get slapped.
Yes. And then, yeah, I just remember one time, like I have some memories of my little journey last year. That was like I think 6 months of very intense work on myself. Like I was prioritizing it. I started to say no to a lot of stuff. I was questioning everything. If I had the word should in my head, I was like, should says who? Should, like, I'm not going to use the word should. I'm going to change it out with want, can, anything else. Like, I was very aware of everything. So I had like an intensive period. And I remember I went home. I don't know if it was after the coaching session or another day. Like, okay, I'm going to sit with my feelings. Come at me. I sit in my couch, home alone. I bring my book because I write a lot. It's like I think it's my best tool. Write in whatever I feel, think, affirmations, like all of it. And I was sitting in the couch and I was like, all right, what am I feeling? Am I sad? Is there anything here? And then something comes. And then I was like, okay, I was like provoking it. And instead of, when you want to cry or don't want to, when you feel like crying and you try to push it down, I was doing the complete opposite. I was like, I have a little lump in my throat. I was like, it didn't come out. Like really pushing it out. And it was so freeing. And while I was writing, I was like bawling my eyes out and writing at the same time, because there came a lot of feelings because I allowed it to. So there came a lot of feelings and a lot of like, I don't know, not a lot, but some childhood memories and some things that suddenly made sense for me. And then I wrote down, and also when I write, there comes some feelings sometimes because the connection in the brain and the hand, it's different than just thinking. I wrote some things. I'm like, yeah, that's why I feel like this, and this is how, and that. And then just let it all out. It just felt so good. And then I had that, okay, this, and it's like, it's not that good as, okay, you cry and you feel light after. Like really, okay, I really let something out now that has been trapped.
Yeah.
And just being like, okay, that was not dangerous at all. It's not dangerous. It's just a little bit uncomfortable.
Right.
But uncomfortable is not dangerous. Like with feeling things.
Yeah, you're right. Because we have that perception of doing the work is so hard, and you're gonna look at things like, and I really hurt, and gonna be painful, and right, there's that whole stigma around doing the work and looking within, and yes, you would cry, probably,
Yeah.
right? Yes, you will feel uncomfortable, but it's so much better than, because you're feeling it anyway, you're just suppressing it, you're just
Yeah.
carrying it, right? It's so much better to just really face it. And it's really, like you said, not as bad as you think.
No,
Yeah.
nothing is, right?
Yeah, that's
We
true.
always project a lot of fears onto everything, and then nothing is as bad as we think.
Yeah,
Ever.
it's so true. And you know what's interesting too is, once you release that stuff that you haven't released in all these years, right? In our case is 30 years, not adding the generational one, because that would be that would be so much more. But it's also about keeping it up, right? As you continue to meditate or journal or sit with your feelings every time something shows up, and you let it flow in the moment. I've learned this thing where I'm like, I feel like I'm always meditating, meaning like whatever's arising, I just let it flow, and it vibrates out.
Yeah.
And I almost feel the energy shoot out. And so that way, it's like almost, there's this monk that I met when I was in Asia, and he's like, you're always taking the trash out.
Yeah.
And if you don't take the trash out for a long time, then you have a lot of trash to take out, so it's going to take a longer amount of time. But I feel like then it gets sort of easier because you just get used to staying in a clean house, right? And you're constantly meditating or journaling or whatever it is that you're doing. But it gets better.
It does. It does get better, and I think, yeah, because you learn all the tools. Like you said, we're missing tools to handle life.
Yeah.
And then as you do this healing work, you learn new tools and you try new things and you figure out what works for you and what doesn't work. And then next time you meet a challenge, you're like, okay, you have the experience that you actually went through it last time, and it's okay. And you also have new tools. So you're going to meet the next problem, which is usually a little bit bigger than the ones you had before, because you're growing. So you're going to meet new challenges, but then you have so much more to meet that challenge with,
Right.
that it somehow becomes easier with time, even if it's bigger and harder, I think.
Yeah.
And like for me, to move to Morocco was like, at one point I remember I was like, oh, Jesus Christ, now I've been through this self-work, and then I have to do it all again. Because when I came here, I had to deal with a lot of things I've never dealt with before. And I remember I was like, oh, I've done all of it, I have to do it again, which is totally the wrong mindset. And I was like, wait a minute. No, it's not doing it again. It's just a different chapter. It's a different version of me meeting new challenges I've never met in my entire life before. Like, this is just a new part of that journey, because, you're never healed and it never stops.
Yeah.
It's not like, okay, I did my healing work and I have been journaling for 6 months and now I'm good.
No,
Obviously not.
No, it's permanent in a sense where you always meditate, or you always contemplating, and you're always feeling, right? Because we used to numb and disassociate and escape, a lot of escapism.
Yeah.
And then when you start feeling, then you just always feeling, and you're sensitive and you're feeling and you're allowing and you're present. And for me, I feel like I'm fully alive, because I'm here right now with it as it's happening, and nothing on the other side is better, or tomorrow is not better, and yesterday was not better, and what's coming is not. It's just what's happening right now is what's better.
Yeah.
Because that's the only thing that's real.
Yeah, I remember when someone was like, time is an illusion. Like the past is just memories and the future is just an illusion of what we think it's going to be.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, yeah. Never even thought about it like that. But it is the only thing you have now. And I think it's a cliche because we say it, like, live in the moment. The only moment you have is right now. But when things are repeated in that cliche way, you just hear it and you don't really think about what it actually means. And I heard, like, I was listening to a podcast the other day, and she said that when we want to control things all the time, which is, I think, it's like one of the biggest issues we all have without knowing. We're trying to control things, and that is like an inability to be in the moment. And I think that was like, yes, that's what the problem is. An inability to be in the moment because people don't know. They're trying to escape it by planning what to have for dinner, planning what I'm going to do next, planning what I'm going to, like, just the small unnecessary things. It's not even planning something big or something important. It's just like planning your next step all the time, which means you're not able to be in the moment at all.
Or flow. You can't flow.
You can't flow.
Because there's something more intelligent than your brain, and it will guide you and tell you what to do next and where to go. And in the moment, it kind of shows you. But to connect with it, you got to be really present and trust it.
Trust. Yeah. Trust. I'm glad you said that, because I feel like that's also a thing. Like, I realized through my work that I didn't have any self-trust. And it took me a while before I realized that, but I was like, oh, geez, I don't trust myself. That's the issue here. Because I don't trust myself to handle what comes in the next turn without knowing. I want to plan it. I'm not trusting my opinion on things. I want to see what other people think first. You know, all this people pleasing, care about other people's thoughts, planning, controlling. I didn't think I had any of these issues. I had all of them.
They're blind spots, right? We don't see them. They're in the subconscious, and we just don't see them.
Yeah, we don't.
Yeah.
But it's like, I think one of the big things of this, and probably for all people, but especially women, I feel like the self-trust is like low, which causes all of these things that I just said now. The lack of confidence, because you don't trust what you're doing and you don't trust what you're gonna do unless somebody else gave you the validation first. And like looking for the validation. This is from the same podcast. It's my favorite. She was like, start to chase your own validation first. And I really think that's like it sums up everything.
Yeah.
Chase your own validation. Don't chase things. Don't chase anything. Just find your own validation. Then you're going to be good.
Yeah. You know, as you're saying that, because I hear that all the time as well about look for validation within or approval within. And then just now I heard the question of like, what if you don't even need that? What if you don't even need that self-validation and you are doing things just to do them and being just to be? You know, with no reason for it. That's a new layer to discover.
Yeah, right? But I'm with you.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
I think we've covered a lot of things today, right? I mean, we've gone pretty deep. We talked about different countries and opposites and vulnerability and shame and validation and coming home and masculine, feminine, and pendulums and all kinds of stuff, and being spiritual millionaires.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you want to share?
Oh, you cannot ask me that, because I can speak about this for hours.
Yeah, I know. I'm the same.
I can't choose like the one thing now.
Well, I'll ask you one last question. So you're here in Marrakesh, right? So we're in Casablanca right now, but you're living in Marrakesh, and you're coaching as well. If anybody wants to find you or talk to you or ask you a question or be coached by you, where can they find you?
They can find me right now on Instagram, Marte in Morocco.
Marte in Morocco, guys. This is how I found Marte too.
Yeah.
While in Tromsø, Norway, laying in the hotel room.
There was a meaning in there.
Right?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Like I told you, I'm in my doing state. So I'm doing a lot. I have a group of women now that I'm coaching, like intensive 8 weeks. I have a plan after that. I have some events. I have some stuff going on. The only thing I don't have is like a website and the page for coaching, not the Darija and the Moroccan things and stuff. But honestly, it feels a bit good too, because usually it's like, okay, I'm going to be a coach. I need a professional website. I need everything to be lined out. I need a logo. I need all these things. But now I'm like, no, I don't. I can just act on what I'm feeling. And then, yes, I'm going to get myself a website. I'm going to get myself the things. It's needed too. Like we said, you need some system and you need some... But I'm just flowing in the moment. And the more I am following my flow, throwing things out there, doing a podcast when I'm when I'm invited, it just leads me closer and closer to what I really want. And it's like showing up on the way. So it just feels super right. And yeah, so I'm open. Reach out to me, find me.
Amazing. So Marte in Morocco.
Yes.
On Instagram, and you don't need a website to do what you do or to do anything. As a matter of fact, you just need to get out there and start acting on it. You know, so that's amazing. I love the work that you're doing. Thank you for being here. Marta again lives in Marrakesh, so there are a bunch of events and workshops that happen there. So follow her on Instagram for all the updates and news. And thank you so much, Marta, for being here. Really appreciate your time.
Thank you for inviting me. It was really nice.
Yeah, it was really nice talking to you. I'm sure we'll talk again and we'll hang out again. And thank you everyone for watching, and I'll see you on the next episode. Let's take a moment to reflect on the power of purpose. Sefamar, a leader in assembling vehicles in Morocco, builds more than machines. They create the essential vehicles that move us forward, connecting people, building cities, and enabling progress. Just as their trucks and buses carry people and materials, bringing to life a vision of growth and development, we too are vehicles, carriers of ideas, dreams, and deeper truths. At the Sarra Show, we embrace what it means to be human and to serve a purpose beyond ourselves. When we surrender to that purpose, we unlock our true potential. Sefamar's vehicles connect communities. We, in turn, connect hearts and minds. Thank you for joining us in this shared journey of creation and connection. Together, we are all vehicles for something greater.